Welcome to Currents Up Close. My name is Sid Morris, and today we have a very special program for you. My guest today, Shirley Fogelman, who is president of the Cedar Valley, Arc of Cedar Valley, and I'll have to make sure I get that name right, and also the vice president, Dolly Fortier. Welcome to the program today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're going to be talking about the 60-year celebration of the Arc of Cedar Valley, and I'm glad you're here. And let's start out talking about an anniversary that you're going to be celebrating in September. And so let's start out. Who's going to talk about that?
Shirley, she's president.
Shirley, okay, Shirley.
Our 60 years began in March of 1954. We will be celebrating this year at River Hill School on Saturday, September the 13th at 1 p.m. That's at 2700 Grand Boulevard in Cedar Falls. We're going to begin with a dessert luncheon. And we're going to relive the past with memories of the agency programs, and we're going to have a tour of the newly renovated facility. It was funded by generous donations through River Hills Foundation. We also have an ongoing DVD made of Love of Mike. I think many people will remember that. KWWL published that several years ago. And then we hope to visit with longtime members and staff and just go through our history.
Have a good time.
Yes.
Right. And how do people, are there reservations or
No.
what do people do?
Everybody's welcome.
It's an open house.
Right.
An open house at River Hills.
Yes.
Well, that'll be nice.
The more the merrier.
Yeah. 20 years ago, I finished 10 years as administrator at River Hills. And so that I'm looking forward to that. And so the public is welcome.
Right. Everybody's invited. We're hoping to draw back through the years members, family members, people with disabilities who went through River Hills, who went through the other programs that we have locally, and just reach everybody we can.
Also, young parents. And maybe are looking for what will be available to their children down the road and so forth. So any of the young parents would we would welcome them.
Right. And of course, students that graduated over the many years.
Yes.
And I hope we get into talking about River Hills and its history today too. But
that's a big part of.
But our main focus today is to focus on the 60th anniversary. What are the hours of the?
We start at 1 o'clock, and we'll go until the last tour person is done.
We'll stay as long as they do.
Okay. Good.
Well, we're hoping it will be like a family reunion, because when we first started, and the people who have been members of the Arc are it's like one big family. And so we're hoping that we'll have all those people come back.
One of the things about River Hills, and I just want to throw this in because I'm very knowledgeable about River Hills. You just finished a remodeling project.
Right.
I know my friend Miller Roskamp has been involved with that, and Miller and I work on other projects too. So
two good fellows to have involved in a project.
Tell us about the things that they're doing right now to upgrade and modernize.
Well, actually, I just had a small tour. I haven't been there. When I was out there, they were still working. So I have not seen the inside either. I'm looking forward to what it's going to be like.
Going to be new for you too.
Yes.
Well, that'll be great. One of the things that, AEA and exceptional persons have been involved with River Hills, and the upkeep of that building has been, I think, very, very good. I know when I went in as principal in 1985, we repainted the whole inside, and everyone seems to look out for River Hills.
We hope so.
Special place.
Yes.
Yes, it is.
We've
It's
had a
special.
couple times that we we had to go to bat with the legislature
Okay.
and convince them this is what we want.
Let's talk a little bit about the ARC and Black Hawk County ARC, and let's talk about that a little bit. What it is, some history of that, and its how it gets started, and
All
its
right.
mission, and so on and so forth.
Well, the ARC of Cedar Valley is, first of all, it's an advocacy association. We advocate for people, for our people who are in need of services and so forth. We don't provide the services, we advocate for people with cognitive and developmental disabilities. And we were founded in March of 1954 when a group of parents and other interested parties came together in March of 1954, that long ago, 60 years obviously. And Sid, you may know some of the people that were at that meeting. I'm
Right.
sure you do. We had James and Helen Henderson. Helen
Right.
went on to do
Doing well.
marvelous things through the years. Ralph and Barbara Emerson,
Right.
Melvin and Vivian Jensen, or Bid as we called her. There was also a Lloyd Boileau, George McGee, Mr. and Mrs. O'Toole, and a young woman by the name of Mrs. Adams, who became very important with our group. The organization was founded as the Association, Black Hawk County Association for Retarded Children, a word we don't use anymore. In time, we became the Association for Retarded Citizens of Black Hawk County, dropping the word children because our people grow older just as we do and have the same types of problems as we do. They're not perpetual children. We became the ARC of Cedar Valley a few years ago when some of the nearby counties folded, their units folded. They were no longer able to support a membership, and asked us to take care of the needs in their counties, which we did. And by the way, the ARC is spelled with a capital A, small r, small c now. It is not an acronym, it's just the ARC, and it became the ARC when a group of self-advocates approached the national group asking us to drop the word retarded from the title because they felt that it was really rather detrimental to their being. And when that group met back in March of '54, the parents were being told to put their children away and to forget about them. The institutions that were taking care of the children were located in Woodward and Glenwood, and they were literally warehoused. There just was not enough space, and there were really no services to speak of. It was a very difficult situation for people who wanted to help, and as well as for the parents and for the children. And what the parents and the people who were there at that first meeting wanted to do was to provide an education for their children, which would lead to work opportunities and to be able to live in their own communities.
Right. I remember that very distinctly because one of the concerns we had in the area of special services for kids were the fact that those Glenwood and Woodward were institutions, and they
Yes,
talked
definitely.
about institution at that
Yes.
time. That has changed, I think, now, but at that time, that was one of the options for severe and profound handicapped.
And it was the option that most medical people recommended. When you found
Right.
out your child had a disability, their first recommendation was to send them to Woodward or River Hills rather than keep them home. And of course, we had a lot of parents that thought our children can do more than this. We should be able to handle them at home.
That's right, yes. And also handle them in school.
Yes,
And,
yes.
that was another step.
I remember that very distinctly because I started teaching in 1954. So education became a very important part of, and of course our state government when they formed the area schools. And they, and I don't want to go too far into that because we could spend a whole program
Yes, we
on
could.
that law and how important it was to serve kids educationally and keep kids at home and so on and so forth. But how does one become a member of the
You
ARC?
just tell us that you want to be.
Okay.
We will have papers for you so quickly and a little membership card.
We have brochures, and we
Yes.
have a website, so they can go to the website and get information from there. And
Telephone number?
yes, and a telephone number.
232-0437.
Well, there are very few requirements in being eligible to join. You don't have to have
No, just the interest in.
a handicapped child. Anyone interested in working with ARC and their mission and that sort of thing, you would welcome them, wouldn't you?
We're fun people, Sid.
Well, I'll tell you, I've had great experiences with ARC over the years. And
Well, you said you started teaching in 54, so you've been with this group of militants all the way through, haven't you?
right. Yeah.
I'm sure that's the way they viewed the parents back in those days, you know, because, you know, years ago our people were hidden. If they were kept in their home, if somebody should chance to come by, they were put in another room or whatever, you know, they just made people uncomfortable.
Well, I was at Edison School, and we had a couple classes at Edison School when I was there, and that was really my first experience, and back in the 50s, and so and then it grew from there. So.
And our people are easy to love, aren't they?
Yes, they are.
I mean, they are. They just.
Well. Yes, and there are so many things that, you know, that, but I want to stay focused on our topic today, because I can just think of a whole bunch of things that I could share with my history of it. We have just a minute in this segment, but Dolly, what in the event that's coming up, is it? The celebration is to celebrate 60 years. Can we talk about that a little bit? Maybe if we don't get it all done, we can come back to it.
All right. Well, the 60 years, you know, we truly are celebrating, because we have taken a group of people, our children, who had no future, who had no life, and gave them a life. And it's just a joyous occasion and a wonderful time to share memories and to learn about this organization, which is why we're hoping young parents will come in and become involved, because we need to protect those services as well.
Right, yeah. Well, I think that's a very good thing to have, and I certainly would encourage people to get interested in helping out, because it is a population that we need to make sure that they have their needs met.
It's a large population, and there are, as you say, many needs that need to be met, and we need to work on it.
Well, after our education, then we started into group homes. Where are they going to live? They can't live at home. That when we bring them back from Woodward, where are they going to go? And that's when EPI and PPI came in to cover the group homes.
Okay, well, we have to break now, and we'll come back, and when we come back, I'd like to have you enlarge on that a little bit, and then also talk about some of the activities for the ARC students. Okay, we'll be back after this word.
We all know that the Cedar Valley is a great place to live and work. And there are many individuals and organizations that are doing their part to improve the quality of life for everyone that calls this their home. On Serving the Valley, we sit down with these service organizations to learn more about different projects and events that need your support. We all need to do our part to help out our community. Tune into Serving the Valley to learn more.
Dear CFU, recently, we had a home energy audit through your House Calls program. The audit gave us information we needed to make good decisions, and your rebates helped us upgrade our insulation air conditioner and furnace. Our thanks to everyone at CFU. Without exception, your employees were helpful, friendly, and efficient. We feel lucky to live in a city with a utility service the caliber of CFU.
Cedar Falls Utilities, our family serving your family.
Welcome back. Our topic today is the 60th anniversary of the ARC of Blackhawk County, and Let's talk about River Hills. I remember that very distinctly too because I was a part of that at the time. Would you share with us, Dolly, what?
Yes, well, it's a long story, but I'll shorten it as much as I can. Mrs. Adams was present at that meeting back in 1954. She had no children of her own, but her sister had a Down syndrome child called mongoloids in those days, but of course it's a Down syndrome. And shortly after the meeting, the United Services Director suggested the idea for pre- and post-schools classes for the children, and Mrs. Adams offered her basement. And they had mattresses, and they had coloring books, and just all kinds of things. They had no idea of what the children would be able to do, but just presenting ideas and things for them to see what would work. On the first day, 7 little boys and 1 little girl showed up for the class. But and they held classes on Tuesday and Thursday afternoons, and it didn't take too long for the word to spread that these classes were available, and her basement was just absolutely overfilled. And in the fall of 1955, the old Rainbow Drive School on Rainbow Drive in Waterloo, and I'm sure you remember that building, that was offered to the group free of charge, so the little group moved over there. And the association by then realized they had more in their hands than they were able to take care of themselves as a volunteer organization, and we are volunteers. So they met with the Cerebral Palsy Group and with the Society for Crippled Children of Blackhawk County, and there may have been some others, but those are the 2 groups that I recall, and they formed Exceptional Persons and hired Bill Brown.
Right.
And of course, when Bill came in, there were no patterns to follow or anything, so he just blazed a trail and brought goodwill to the community. And then later on, Key 7 and Adults Incorporated, which became what is now known as North Star. So it was his leadership, along with the dedication of parents and other interested people, which brought all of these services about, but back to education. We left our school at Rainbow Drive when it became overcrowded. So in 1959, additional space was acquired at the Hewitt and the Longfellow schools, and you probably remember that too.
I remember that very distinctly.
And those classrooms, along with the Rainbow location, schooled the trainables. Remember the trainables, the educables, and the more severely challenged children went to classrooms over in the old Salvation Army headquarters, neighborhood headquarters down near the river on Hawthorne Avenue, and that's where they were located when I learned about it. And transportation at this time was provided by parents and relatives, and also by the Junior League women, used their own cars.
That's right.
And they eventually purchased a used school bus for our folks. And of course that eventually grew. I know in 1969 we had 18 buses.
That's right.
And I know it's, yes. And now these days I'm sure that's different. We discussed that a little bit earlier with the children now in public schools as well as River Hills. So all the things change, you know. But in January of '64, schooling moved to the basement of the First Lutheran Church on High Street there in Waterloo. It's where my Julie girl started. And very soon we needed additional space there. I mean, this group just grew by leaps and bounds. And so we acquired more space at the nearby Grace Methodist Church. And we just needed a school. And the timing was perfect because the Minnie Crippen Foundation was looking for a project. And we had federal dollars at that time that was available to us for $296,940 if we could get matching funds. And so we worked with the Minnie Crippen Foundation, and very soon the announcement was made of an $800,000 school.
That's right.
That wouldn't build much of anything today, would it?
Yes.
But 80 acres of the Hartman Reserve was purchased on which to build the school, and I'm sure you were probably part of all those goings on back then. And River Hills includes 24 classrooms. It has a lounge, a library, kitchen, dining room, offices, and recreation area, including a therapeutic pool, which had wonderful stories behind that as well, too. And bids began May 15th of 1966. Contracts were let on June 10th. And the doors opened to River Hills on September 5th, 1967.
That's right. Yes.
It was great.
Remember that day? It was a great day.
Oh, everybody was there.
Yes.
Oh, we celebrated. So we had now achieved an educational facility for our children and had more goals yet to meet.
And the neat part of it is it's still operating,
Yes.
doing well,
Yes.
and many of the counties in Iowa lost their program that was similar. That was
Well, in the beginning, we had people from all over the world. River Hills in our area, the services that we gave to people with disabilities,
That's right.
they came from all over the world. We used to, well, part of the art was to give tours. We would volunteer to give tours at River Hills, and then that would, those people would go back. But then Bill Brown was such a forward-thinking person.
yes.
After we got the education, then he saw the need for housing. And he went over to Europe, see what they have, come back and started the group
Yeah,
homes.
there's a picture of Bill now on the screen.
Yes.
He was the executive director, and Irene was the treasurer, and they were just two special people.
Yes, he was.
I think we should mention, Sid, the fact that Blackhawk County is the leader in the United States
Right.
to provide services for the challenged.
Yes, and Bill and Wayne Morris played a big role in
Yes.
that, you know, and
yes.
that's a name that people in Cedar Falls will remember. And there are a number of other people, but the thing that we did in, you know, I'd like to speak just a minute about curriculum and teaching children. You know, I always promoted when I was administrator, teaching every child to be as independent as they possibly can be. And, you know, and for children who have disability, sometimes that's a difficult task for some people, but you teach and you work with students to become as independent as they possibly can be. And
It's
that's
difficult
so
to let go
important.
of our children, and especially our children that are challenged, you know, but you have to in order for them to succeed.
That's exactly right.
And
The
inclusion.
important thing was, when they get in special ed in schools, was educating the rest of the,
Exactly.
yes, the education to the other people, of bringing them into their activities. And
But the biggest problem with teaching independence is teaching the teacher to become a teacher who promotes independence. Because it's so easy sometimes to do things for kids. And you know, you can do things for kids, but teach them to be independent. And if they can do it, they, you know.
Oprah
have them do it.
Walther had a funny story to tell us. Our son was out there, and we came to visit, and she said, you know, Greg is this advanced so much, he's learned to clean the kitchen sink without using the whole jar of Comet.
That's right.
That was Opal.
That's right. You know.
But that was what they taught them, to take care of themselves, to be able to live independently.
I'd like to share with you when I was administrator at River Hills, and I like going back to those experiences, but I set up a computer program for our severe and profound kids.
Yes.
And it was just, you know, it was so successful. And when I brought that up at a meeting, you'd have thought that they were ready to get a straitjacket. But I proved that we were right, that you know, there are ways that kids can experience something new with a computer. We have about 5 minutes left, and I'd like to get us back to the celebration, if we can, unless you have something else that you'd like to
Well, I
bring
think
up. But
we kind of like to bring
the
you up.
activities.
up to date on the things that we are doing now, what
Right.
we do in the community right now.
Yeah.
Let's do that first, and then we'll go back to
Okay.
the...
We have some interesting services. We have a program, well, it's not a program, it's an event. It's called Up with Families, and it's an annual weekend event for families, mothers, fathers, and the children and their siblings. And we have special program events and activities for all members of the family. Meals and lodging, everything is paid for. It's a wonderful, wonderful event. We have a winter bowling program for adults with disabilities. We have a Christmas party and awards and so forth. We have a People First program for our self-advocates, and they go to Des Moines, talk with the legislators, go on various field trips and so forth. It's really an educational experience for them. And we also offer a summertime music therapy program for toddlers through age 21.
great.
And Shirley knows about some of the events that I don't know about.
Well, we have what we call joint volunteers. It started in 1989 with North Star. It was a group of parents that met together, and we bought equipment and the things that they needed. Then in 1990, we started the Cookie Walk. And everybody's aware of the cookie box that
Yes.
North Star has. We raise the monies there for the year, and then the money goes to Choice, EPI Choice, and to North Star. And they use it for activities, things that we raise about $4,000. So we separate that, and they use it for their activities. And then we have the Gopher and Gopherettes. The Gophers go around to the group homes and fix what needs to be fixed, repaired, carpenter stuff. And the ladies all get together and sew. And we repair everything that the group homes that they need us to, and mostly the clothes, because the clients, not all of them have the money to be able to go out and buy. So we do a lot of repair work.
Oh, good.
And there was quite a few $1,000s that they figured that your group saved.
At one time, they figured about $50,000 that we saved EPI in our Gopherette group.
Yeah, well, that's great. We have a couple minutes, and let's review then the September. The date was September
13th
13th, and
at River Hills.
at River Hills
At 1 o'clock.
at 1 o'clock.
The big thing, we're going to have a program of, like we've been going through here pretty much, but then the big thing is a tour of River Hills and the refurbishing.
So there'll be people that'll give people
Yes.
tours
Right.
in the building. And will there be one general kind of session or
Yes, as you come in, you go to the lunchroom,
in the lunchroom?
and that's where we'll have our lunch and our meeting, and then
Yeah.
they will have the tour around.
Yes. Well, I just want to remind everyone, our listeners, that everybody in the community is welcome,
Yes.
and you don't need to call ahead.
No.
You want to pull out on Rainbow Drive,
Yes.
River Hills School, and go in, and you're welcome.
Yes.
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely.
The more the better. We want
Yes.
to make 60 years is a long
That'd
time
be
for an
great. No problem.
agency.
Well, I just, we have just a second or two left, but I'd just like to thank you ladies for being here today and doing this. You can't imagine how good I feel about having an opportunity to talk about River Hills, because I had 40 years of education, but 10 of them were at River Hills, and I truly enjoyed my stay there at that time.
Then you can come down and go down memory lane with us.
Yes.
That's right, I will.
We'll be looking for you. We'll come after if you aren't there.
Okay. Okay, well, I want to thank you, and I'll be a little late because I have to give a little talk in Des Moines that morning, but I'll be back. So
Good.
Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for
That
having
concludes
us.
our program for today, and thank you for joining us.